Today we're going to go over all the units that got me to my very first Emperor ranking, and at the end we'll go over a little draft guide to see how I use those units, because I think it's very helpful to see how I built the units and then how I use them. If you want to see the story of how I reached Emperor for the very first time, you can check out the video over here. When you're looking at all the stats that I put up as we're going through the characters, keep in mind that the win rates you need to compare to my overall win rate. My overall win rate for the Insight season in total was like 46%, 46.7%, not that great, but that means that everything that is higher than 46.7 is like that's a very effective unit for me, even if it's like worse than the league average. It's also kind of awkward because a lot of these units, the last week is totally different than the rest of the season, and especially the last day for me was like insane. So the numbers like just don't necessarily correlate to how well these units like did for me. So just keep that in mind as you're going through these. But I like the numbers, so that's why we're looking at them. Turn on the sound the first time, so second time, here we go. First unit is Unbound Night. I don't like this unit anymore because her mitigation gets stripped a lot and you're just left like a naked baby. You can't do anything. It's bad news. She just dies to all the Galileuses anyway. That's another reason why I stopped picking her. My counter to Galileusis is generally just pick another knight so that I have the Aureus for both of them, no matter which one the Galileusis targets. And you'll notice that I basically have no speed because I like to farm Banshee because I think it's funny. I don't really care to farm Wyvern. I think it's funny to be unique or whatever. Don't worry about it. And I made a lot of concessions to account for not having any speed, not having any openers. It affects my playstyle, it affects units I build, all that. You'll see as we get into it. So the main reason I don't pick Arrowell anymore is because of your girl, Crimson Armin. This is definitely my MVP of the season. I picked her every single game I could. First pick, I guess she deserves a reforge there, and just she was amazing. I love that she has her damage mitigation, the damage redirection to her, the damage prevention from her passive. You cannot strip it. You cannot do anything about it. If she gets her turn, she sets up immunity and invincibility. It means you can't get touched again. The immunity is so impactful because there's so much stupid debuffs on S1s and stuff that you don't want to get hit by. A lot of times I didn't really need the invincibility. I just set it up for the immunity so I wouldn't get like attacked down from Abyssal Euphine and all that like a really annoying stuff. The protection set is so good because it prevents her from, it's just extra HP at the beginning, which helps you not die to aggro strats. I put her on immunity, so like Lewis can't reset her unless they sleep her. That ended up helping a ton because Lewis tend to just reset her so that you can't like set up immunity or invincibility later. So they sleep her, reset her, but that leaves my other units with free reign. So very big. The build and like the unit itself plus the build, that's like really what pulled it together for me. Okay, my third most used unit is Lionheart Sirmia. This is a bit different than a lot of builds that I've been seeing. I think most builds go for like pure damage and like higher speed, like 160, 170, which kind of checks out when you like just remove effective resistance and just move it all to speed. But I've been running this build. I really enjoy this build. It's big damage and it's at base speed essentially because there's like no way for Conquerilius not to lap you at base speed, which means if I pick her into Conquerilius, I always get my S3 on the first turn, and then I just blow up their team, and I'm happy. Like, everyone dies. It makes me happy. It just works out well. The effect resistance actually helped me a lot because I dodged a lot of, like, Arrowell stuns or something like that. People would have Conquerilius and Arrowell, for example. They do the dual attack, activate me, try to stun me. It doesn't work because like they just don't have enough effectiveness, or it's like a 50-50. I don't know the exact math, but basically I don't get stunned. I rip it into them and they die. It worked out very well for me. I think Golden Rose is the way to go for me because it's so slow. There's a lot of times I need the HP after one run to be able to survive to the next swing around with her S3. I have contemplated and thought about Symbol of Unity instead of Golden Rose because I want to draft her into Aiden a lot, and I would love to just hit Aidens more and just obliterate them. But it's I really like the lifesteal. I kind of value that a little bit more overall than just being able to hit Aidens. So I'll live with a 70% chance to dodge and just kill them the normal way. Speaking of Aiden, my next unit, Aiden. This is just super tanky build. I switched to Double-Edged Crescent over Shepherd of the Hollow because I really just wanted her to close out the late game matches. I want her to have more ways to counterattack, more ways to clutch out in the end game. And she's just absolutely fantastic. Really high defense, helps her live against a lot of her counters. Actually, I don't think I died to a single last piece Kron the entire season, attack buff or no attack buff. You die more to Zahhak. Zahhak does a lot more damage, but I did live as Zahhak on like the final day, which won me the game. So I just love this build. Yes, 94% crit chance. I did lose a game because I missed crit twice in the same game, but overall, of all the games I played, it was not that big of an issue. So I'm just going to keep it how it is. It works well. If there's another unit that carried me besides Crimson Armin, it's this girl right here with a 50% win rate over the whole season. Definitely probably higher on the last week or so. Rounding out the top 5 characters for us is this Thina. This is the other character I picked like pretty often. I'd say the last week was pretty much defined by Carmen, Destina, and Savior Aiden. High resist build, 190 effect resistance. I could go a little bit higher. I also don't have imprints, so if I compare to people that do have imprints, I think it's like pretty similar because I'd be around 220. That puts her closer to 300 with her buff. But basically, this build was so much better because I found that like I would get debuffed a lot. Like she'd get hit by knock walls, she'd get hit by AOLs, and I just had enough. And then word on the street was that higher ER build is the way to go. So I just swapped to it, and I never looked back, and it's been great. I do have her on immunity. That way she can't get hit by things like just like weird stuff like Faithless Luluka. It also helps against Lua. So because I have protection set on Carmen, if I see Lua, I basically just slam Destina Carmen, because Lua players also tend to be a little bit more aggressive. So Destina is great against aggressive drafts. So I just put them together. They can't reset both of them. They can't reset Destina at all. Usually I don't even think they try. They just sleep Carmen and then like, all right, Destina will do her Destina things. So this is just, it was so good for me. It was so good for me this season. Love Destina. Another character I love, and maybe my favorite DPS to play this whole season, was Lilith. She basically one-shotted everything with the Frostbite debuff. They extinct, they can't come back, which is really important against Abyssal Euphine. She's one of my main counters to Abyssal Euphine. And she also helps when people like kind of pick the Lionheart Sermias into me, because I don't have like a great answer for them. I can just pick this Lethe. Revenge set, because I don't farm Wyvern and I randomly wanted to get a revenge set and it randomly happened to roll really high HP, so I'm pretty happy with it. This used to be a plus 15, but I missed the kill by like 100 HP on one Captain Landy, even with Frostbite, and I said it must go up, it must be enhanced, so I gave it 1 powder and now it's plus 18. So that's the story behind that. I really didn't have any issues landing Frostbite, so that might be because I have like weird, like this tiny, I don't think it's because I have a tiny bit of effectiveness, but it never was an issue for me. And if it was, I don't think I usually lost the game from it. I would just kind of wait it out or just go for it anyway and then like clean it up. Like one thing that I think is really important to playing Lethe is being like, okay, well, either I ran the S3 earlier and they didn't land the Frostbite debuff, or I don't know if I'll land the Frostbite debuff, or I don't know that I'll even kill with the Frostbite debuff. So you could, like, for example, there's games where I had Savior Aiden and Lethe in the same team. I would just use Aiden to slam the Euphine before Lethe's turn went, and then she's low enough that even if the Frostbite doesn't land, she still kills. So something to think about when you're playing her is like, you don't just have to rely on her solely to kill it, especially if you have a second DPS, which I did a lot of the times. I ran a lot of 3 DPS drafts, which you'll see in the draft guide at the end of the video. Next, we have Mediator Cowerick, basically the Destina backup, and actually played a little bit more towards the end of the season because of the stupid rat ML Shu. I hate that unit. and I just didn't have good answers for her, and I decided that Little Queen Charlotte was an answer, and I need a attack buff for my Little Queen Charlotte, so I felt like the game was going slow. I would pick Mediator Cowrick so that I could have the attack buff for Charlotte in case they picked the shoe. So that was the kind of general game plan for Mediator Cowrick, or like if they just took Destina or whatever. I never saw Destina banned the whole time. I would be like, okay, I feel like the way this is going, they're going to pick Emma Landy. I don't have Emma Landy. I just don't pick Euphine or Emma Landy, really. So I was like, I always have to have answers for them. And Meteor Coward, the attack down on the Emma Landy is just so huge for reducing her damage. She kind of hits like a wet noodle, and that gives you time for things like Lethe or Lionheart Sermia to just like clean up and take over the game. The next one we have is a wonderful support Shuna. I played this unit a lot more in the beginning of the season. Just it was really fun. I like to have her two-way cleanse, debuff. She does everything. I had a playstyle going for a while where I'd pick a couple units to just do everything, and then I felt really comfortable being able to adapt to whatever my opponent was doing. But the issue with Shuna is that towards the end of the season, I start seeing a lot more AOLs, like Lua AOL kind of drafts, and Shuna just doesn't have the ER to keep up with those guys. So I have to pick Destina, basically. That's the only cleanser that I have that is high ER that can deal with those like really heavy effectiveness stacking debuffers. So Shuna kind of took the backseat towards the end, but I did pick her a few times to kind of pressure Savior Aiden's, and she was like kind of nice into aggro counter set because it's funny. Okay, number 9, our final night, I believe, is Last Rider Crow. Same build as last season when Last Rider Crow was my main focus. Just a lifesteal build. It's kind of funny, and it does the job. I did win a few games, at least one game, because he's on lifesteal, and the opponent was like, I don't have to worry about Crow anymore. And then he just hit their whole team and lifestealed a bunch, and it was like, oh. This was a key part of like anti-Euphine strategies as well. So one of the things that like I lost to a lot when I was playing Euphine, which is a big lesson, was like Last Rider Crow plus like Angel of Light, and they just had the book, so they just soul burn Last Rider Crow immediately. You're basically forced to AoE into him, and he just like rips your day, like rips your whole team apart, like AoE by AoE, bike after bike after bike. And the last of our top 10 is Ocean Breeze Luluka. This unit is one that didn't really see much play towards the end. That's because I felt like she gets countered quite easily. People can pick like Tywin into her, Lionheart Sermia, which is one of my primary DPSs. So a lot of times I don't pick her because I want to keep Lionheart open for me. And if I pick her, then like sometimes I'll take it, and then I'm in like an awkward spot because I don't have great answers to the Lionheart Sermia. It's like kind of convoluted. But she did her job great. I really like the high speed because if they don't have, most of the CR pushers are non-attack skills. And so even if they hold skills, you can get in front of their DPSs, set up the defense buff, set up the ice cream buff, and feel really, really safe. So I think the high speed build is the way to go, even though I know a lot of people have like effectiveness on her, but like I can't do everything with like out farming Wyvern. So we just go high speed. High effectiveness. I don't want her to get provoked by Conqueror Lilius and stuff. I don't think she rarely got provoked by Conqueror Lilius, so it worked out for me. And that's my Luluka. We're gonna go into the latter half of the top 20, starting with Angel of Light, Angelica. Woohoo! So she was great. I have her on book because of the LRK Angel of Light kind of team comp that I mentioned before. She was on Spirit's Breath before that, which I don't think was as impactful in the matchups like I needed her, even though she's getting AoE'd a lot. Like you get the thing, like my Spirit's Breath is only 75%, so it doesn't always proc, and then you're kind of like, this feels bad. And then also like Landy and Euphine don't really care about being debuffed, so it didn't really matter. But she was pretty nice against Euphines because you could push Euphine back with the silences. You have the books for the LRKs. But I didn't pick her as much in the latter half of the season. ML Ken, I think this is my favorite unit to play all season, especially after I switched him to this damage build. Before I had it like 1700 defense and like 17,000 HP, which was fun because he just like wouldn't die and then he'd like slowly like claw his victory back. But like then I played against a martial arts Ken, which just blew up my Lionheart Sermia, and I was like, that seems wrong. That doesn't seem right. Lionheart Sermia is supposed to like beat the counter characters, but then like I just do the AoE and like half my HP's gone, and then I do the next one and the other half of my HP's gone and she's dead, and I was like, huh? So that's what made me swap to the full damage build. It's been insane. I know a lot of people run him at 0% crit chance, so I could get like more damage out of him for sure. But I had enough damage, I thought, and I like the extra crit chance because it let me like 50-50 crit people that like, oh, they'd crit my ally and then it's a 50-50 for me to crit them back, which like can sometimes just like ruin their day, which is quite nice. So I'll probably keep him as is. Very happy with how he did, like just absolutely fantastic against the meta carries of AU Fiend and ML Landy. There's a lot of games where I knew I could just pick him and like they have Destina or whatever, but I don't care that Yufien's gonna revive because I'll just kill her the second time anyway with Ken. So that's kind of the difference between Ken and Lethe. Lethe is if you don't get the one shot, then you're kind of like, oh crap, GG's, I can't really get around for a next one. But then with Ken, you're like, oh, well, you died and then you revived. Well, just you can AoE again and I'll kill you that time too. Like he will kill them like no matter how many times they revived, which is kind of nice. And then the queen of anti-aggro is Karina. This season, I specifically plus 30'd her Rocket Punch with powders because I was tired of losing games where it didn't proc. Or like losing like small advantages where it didn't proc. It's also really good because I don't have a solid Aiden answer on my account. So when they pick Aiden, I'm kind of in a bad spot. I would chant to myself like, believe in the Karina, believe in the Karina. Like that's my Aiden strategy basically, is like pick Karina even if it's like not a great spot for her and just like hope it works. But yeah, I really like this build. It worked out very, very well for me and I can't complain. So Karina, she's like absolutely fantastic. 53% win rate, maybe one of my highest win percent characters for this account on this season, which is absolutely huge. It's like what, like almost 7% higher than my average win rate over the season. That's like big. That's a lot. Okay, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a big deal. So Karina, love it, and wouldn't trade it for the world. And then we have my favorite character, Archdemon Shadow. Woohoo! Haven't changed this build in 2-3 seasons, but absolutely crushed it. I think this is the first hero that I'm showing you guys that is above the league average, even with 2 purples. Let's go. I talked about it before, but the effectiveness build is because a lot of her counters, I think, get countered by seal. So I'd like to be able to seal them without having to soul burn. You don't always have a soul burns. You don't have soul burns available in the beginning. So things like Angelica of Light, I can seal her right off the get-go, but I would prefer to activate her with a different AoE and then I don't have to really worry about her. I can seal something else. You can seal Rana, then that's kind of sad for them. You can seal Sermias, although Sermias don't really run resistance anymore, but you could still, when they were, you could seal them when they can't like hit you back. So I really like the effectiveness build. And a lot of her damage comes from just like the burns and defense breaks. So I really want those to land, especially in the late game against, other things. So I could try the crit chance build, but like this build is like really just done well for me. So I see no reason to change it. I love her. And yeah, so nice 49% win rate for me on this character. I think the first, maybe one of the few characters that is above the league average for me. Although I think you'll see something different in the honorable mentions. 15th most picked character is Abysmal Fiend. I really don't like this character. I picked her up I built her towards the end of the season because I felt like, oh, I have to build her. I have to use her, and because she's the meta, she's the wave. Everyone's saying Carmen, Destina, Fiend, which I did try for a day. It worked out pretty well for me. And then it stopped working because I don't know. I don't know if it's a bad build. I don't know if it's how I play her. But I really don't like this character. I had a phase where I would lose when I played her, I would lose when I picked her, and it wasn't fun. I couldn't decide whether Holy Sacrifice, or Elbrus was better. I decided Elbrus was better because you just have more RNG, which gives you more chances to win and just cheese your opponent. But yeah, I really didn't like this character. And you can see it did not work out for me. And the win rate is a 41% win rate. That's 20% lower win rate than the league average. It's abysmal. Abysmal Euphine. That's what she should be called for me. Dude, abysmal Euphine. This character sucked. I hated it. So I just stopped picking her like halfway through the last week. Unless like she was like insanely good, where I felt like, okay, they have no answers for her. All I need to do is just wait for her to S3, just pick off the characters. They like have a lot of CC or something like that. Okay, I can just win this game if Euphine gets her S3 off, and then like Lua's like reset, sleep, extra turn, speed buff, reset. And I just like, I can't get a turn fast enough for her to get her S3 off. So I really don't like this unit. Oh, we do have another knight that is a knight, and it's Ambitious Tywin. I don't like this character either. Kind of the same reasons I didn't really like LRK. Counter set is just funny. Same story as usual. Definitely going for a higher effectiveness build, but like this build is like so scuffed. Like look at the crit chance, crit damage. Basically, I don't like it for the same reasons I don't like LRK. I don't think he can work as a standalone knight because you just blow up to aggro drafts. Or cleave drafts, like just not enough mitigation. I need the defense from Carmen if I'm not going to be contest openingers. If I'm not going to be able to contest openers because my account is just, and the way I play is just like that, then I need the extra mitigation provided by Arrowell or by Carmen, and so I can't really be playing him. I did pick him on occasion, like I said, into Galililius, where it's like I've already got my main tank, and they pick Galililius. If I pick Tywin or LRK, I've got another Aureus, and they can't one-shot anything with Gala, and that works out quite well. But mostly just meh. This next character was pretty interesting for me. It is Designer Lilibet. I like this character a lot into Briarwitch's area because she kind of guarantees the cut in between the defense breaks. That doesn't always work if they have something like Conquer Lilius, because they can do the Conquer Lilius stuff, and then Lilibet goes, and then a lot of Briarwitches have immunity, so I can't reset the S3 or anything, and then I kind of die anyway. So it's kind of hit or miss, but overall I was pretty happy with this character. And I think she's necessary against units like Fumir that like sleep twice. Like you just have to have her built for some situations. She's like the better Ed in my opinion. I think Ed just not very good right now. There's just too many things that debuff him like twice or debuff him without attacking him, and then he just gets overloaded and you die. So I much prefer Designer Lilibet when I needed to, although I don't recall picking her a lot the last day. And maybe I lied when I said MLK. Oh my god, Inferno Kazi, this guy's the best. The second unit that we're saying that is above the league average. Let's go, Kawazu Kickman. Check out oh my gosh, this build. People are gonna click. You're gonna click. I know you're trying to click away. You see this Kawazu. How can this Kawazu build even work, man? Oh my god, counter set. Why? What is this stat spread? But it works, baby. You just gotta get them to have enough damage that you clap whoever you want. Like, so, you know, I pick this a lot into mostly Captain Landy's. Like I picked it sometimes into Sirmia if they don't have if they're forced to AoE, then I can pick her into Sirmia. I've played games where, like, you know, you play smart players that like they've got Sirmia and Last Word of Crown, and they just don't S3 at all. They don't AoE until they whittle Kawazu down and you lose, which is, you know, good on them. The counter build is kind of funny. I have won a few games because of the counter, because you counter with Vigor and then they get 2 burns and then it's on like a squishy unit like Knockwall or something weird and they die. So yeah, it's kind of worked out for me. And you know, he only needs 1 turn, right? Kawazu is a man that only needs 1 turn. Most of my games with Kawazu are defined by one-shotting their carry and then them forfeiting. So he only needs the 1 turn, and I love him for it. Oh my goodness, this character is so fun. Yeah, maybe one day I'll get him a real build, but he's working. So why change? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Repeat with me. Pirate Captain Flan. This is another character that worked abysmally for me. It was very bad. I didn't really like have a good option to like. I mean, first of all, I don't have the Wyvern gear, so like it's kind of scuffed, right? I picked her when they didn't have cleansers, when they had like a lot of Lua and stuff, where I felt like they couldn't deal with, like I needed something that like S1 is really impactful. This is like my Aiden counter because I just like I need something that hits Aiden, so it's pretty bad. Or like Galililia's counter, but like a lot of times they just like I don't know, they just run over you too fast for the debuffs to work, especially if she ends up like she can't be a solo DPS that well. I'd love to. I might have to change her up so she can be a solo DPS, which is something that I would like to consider, because I love her design. Probably like my favorite character design wise. I'm a Flan. I'm a Flan fan, a Flan stan, and I can't really use a blue Flan because of my playstyle, but I could probably use Pirate Captain Flan. Maybe revisit this in the future. Okay, the top 20th unit that I didn't pick at all in the last week of the season is Spectre Tina. So this character really didn't affect my climb at all because, well, I mean, like it was fun, but like she really didn't do anything for me the final day. But it's just big damage. It's just big damage. That's it. There's nothing special here. So I'm not really gonna talk about these. This unit like really didn't do anything for me actually getting to Emperor because there's just so much AoE built in to this season. Okay, let's look at honorable mentions. So we actually have one already. It's actually 21st place. These guys should swap places. So there's only 5 games played less than Spectre Tina. Senya was basically my clutch against Cleave, against aggro, and against Aiden. So if they like were aggressive with Aiden, Senya comes out, she does her thing, she claps him up, boom, 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 crushed it, 55% win rate. I think the highest win rate we've seen so far. And then we got immunity, so that just more chances to resist. Like if also, like I'm saying, we got the Carmen always, the protection set plus the immunity means Lua can't reset her in aggro drafts. It's just like, oh, it feels so good. It feels so good. You can't get her with the Flitica. It's a good time, okay? We love our Senyas. We love our Senyas. Another one of my favorite characters all time. So I really like this character. I picked her. I wish I could pick her more, but she just like loses to Euphine, right? So it is what it is. But yeah, she did really well for what I needed her to do, which is counter aggro drafts. I thought Celine would do better. I picked her maybe more than I should have. I don't think I picked her much the last day, which was probably a good thing. We'll talk about Bellan a little bit. I think she's a very important unit this season because of ML Ludwig drafts. Mine's on counter, nothing like crazy special. Oh, I bumped her up in the ER build. Interesting. I had thought about this a long time ago. I didn't realize I actually did it. So the ER build is actually really important because if you pick her against Leica, you can take out the souls, and then everyone has ER, and so she can't target anyone, and then she just does nothing. So that was one reason why I advocate for the ER build. And also just take out souls against ML Ludwig. I never really picked her unless I saw ML Ludwig, and I just pick ML Ludwig and then ban something else. And I had times where people just left her in, which was kind of weird because they just had ML Ludwig and like Belly in there, and he kind of did nothing, which was great for me. But though I have a specific way that I would draft against like cleavers and like Ludwig style cleavers, so I really just want something that they have to force ban at the end, so they kind of get trapped by the rest of my draft. Cool. What other random stuff? My Rana is cracked. Not because she's actually cracked. She's actually kind of kind of scuffed. It's all 75 free gear, but she's got a almost 60% win rate. So yeah, and that's like 8%, 9% higher than the average. So I'm a Rana genius, man. I got cracked something in the Rana code. I love playing this unit. She was really good this meta because there's a lot of Euphines going around with Elbrus. There's a lot of Landys going around with Elbrus, and you can kind of catch people where they like just have both Euphine and Landy, and then I just pick Rana and they don't respect it and they die. Rimu actually worked pretty well for me. I don't know why. I don't know what I picked Rimu into. I cannot remember. because I don't think I picked this unit much at the end of the season. This build is like kind of scuffed. I would like to switch it to like, I don't know, I've seen like the real like tank Rimuru's and stuff, and then maybe like do more of like anti-Galililius stuff. Rimu is supposed to be really good against Galililius. I didn't really pick it much because I just didn't have the, I wasn't able to. Like by the time people pick Galililius against me, most times they already have something like AOL that's like gonna shut down my Rimuru, and so it just didn't feel good. So yeah, I'm personally not sold on Rimuru, but a lot of people are like singing praises to the Rimuru, but it did well for me surprisingly. So I'm I don't know. I have to review that, I guess. Note to self. Okay, what else was good? I'll show you my super secret tech, which won me a few games. Didn't have a great win percentage overall, but like I think this unit was pretty clutch for me towards the last couple of days. So even though the stats don't really represent it, I wanted to show it to you all. It is a like 210ish speed, like really high effectiveness, and effectiveness poly, resistance and effectiveness politis. This unit basically just was a force ban. I picked her into Galililius actually towards the end because she forces a non-attack skill, and then Politis can go and stun people, get boosted up, stun their team, blind their team, unbuffable their team. That worked very well for me. There's a few games where I like was able to strip the, I don't think that works well, but like there was some weird game I remember where I was able to strip the Galililius's like the buff that prevents her from taking too much damage, and then she just didn't get another turn, and I like bopped her with Aiden or something. So this was a clutch character for me. I started playing around with her a little bit more like the last week for sure, and she's got enough that she'll dodge a lot of like Lewis sleeps and stuff, especially when I combine her with like Carmen bumping her up to 200. I don't think there's a lot of Lewis that are over 100, maybe like 130, stuff like that, where like it's still a 50-50, and if it works out for me, it's like kind of bad for them because they reset, but then I like can stun their whole team or whatnot. I'd love to, the actual, I thought about the dream as like putting her on resistance, so then like they have to sleep her, and then they're gonna miss the sleep, and then because her ER, they like miss the sleep in the strip, and then they can't reset, like they can't press buttons anymore. So that's something I might consider in the future, but it was pretty fantastic for now. Winter also was very good. That's another niche pick. This is just like, I don't know, I just kept it like this. I feel like I always think I have more effectiveness than I actually do. Storm Swords to help cycle a little bit faster. There's not much to say about this. I really like using her into Lionheart Sermias, opposing Lionheart Sermias. They have no choice but to activate non-attacks, and then I can just like blow them up and keep them stunned, and it just works out very, very well. And I did that. I got a game like that on the last day, so it worked. It seems like there's things that like randomly worked well for me, like Landy. I don't know why. I want to talk about, I'll show you my Little Queen Charlotte build. This is just like, I don't know, it's pretty standard. Destruction, blow stuff up. I switched her back to immunity. I had her on like a weird effect resist build before. It's not good. Don't do it. Just put her on immunity, especially if you're like me and you have Carmen and they can't reset her with Lua. This is just how I dealt with ML Shu. I just blow her up. That's the game plan. Another unit that I want to use more, that like I hear everyone singing praises of, is Elena. I'm gonna have to like practice using this unit in the future because I love this skin. This is like, it's so cute. I don't know. This is like one of my favorite skins in all of EpicSeven. I would love to use Elena more. Honorable mention in a bad way is Shadow Knight Pillis. This is the build that I had when I was using Rocket Punch. I think it kind of sucked. I don't really understand. I felt like when other people had Pillis and Rocket Punch, they did a lot of damage, and mine just like didn't really do that much. Like I could never kill Aiden's with it. It just felt really bad. So I'm not a fan of Rocket Punch Pillis. I think Rocket Punch should definitely go on Karina. It's way more useful. The Pillis like damage mitigation is quite nice against like Lethe. There was a game where I had Pillis there and they like Lethed something and it just did nothing because Pillis like adds an extra 30% damage reduction on Lethe's extra attacks. So like Lethe can't kill anything. So I like that part about Pillis, but I really don't care for the Rocket Punch build. I don't think it did that much, and I definitely was not good enough to like solo carry, which like is a situation I end up in quite a lot. Kron, wow, Kron. Kron is a funny one because this might sound weird, but I like to pick Kron into Veronica because it kind of forces them. So like if I see my opponent going aggro, so like let's say they're doing the Faithless Luluka, Veronica Cleave. Like obviously I'm gonna do my homeboys, Carmen and Aiden. That's how I deal with aggro drafts. So I've got those guys, and then they're gonna continue with like their cleavy stuff. And they have Veronica, but maybe they've got like Sid and stuff, so they're going for like single target cleave. If I pick Kron, they have to attack Kron before Veronica goes, because then they can't. That's the only way that they're going to get rid of the immortality. So like it's worked out. Sometimes it's kind of funny, but it's like a 50-50. But I did have a 55% win rate with Kron, which is like nice. So he did well, even though I picked him a lot into Veronica's, which is like kind of counterintuitive, but like in my brain it makes sense because I'm just trying to trap people. My other anti-aggro clutch queen is Rem. There's actually a few games that I won because I accidentally picked Rem instead of Karina. Rem is great. She my Rem is like very tanky, so she really doesn't die to Jackos or anything like that. She's also kind of like got a big target on her head because of demon mode. And yeah, she's just fantastic. She wins games. She's great against like Caesarea Cleave because she again, it's all about like forcing your opponent to pick targets, and they have to hit her or else she gets the demon mode. She can't be like debuffed and stuff, or she's a force ban for Caesarea Cleave, Summerside Caesarea for the newer players. So yeah, she's like, it's all about forcing them into bad spots, and it worked out. 62% win rate. That's the winner, right? Highest win rate so far, but I only picked her into 16 games.